Yo, what's good with you? Back in black with another Enlisted video. If you guys are new to the channel and you love shooting games just like me, make sure you aim for that like button and shoot that subscribe button as well. It'll help you find better teammates and improve your skill-based matchmaking. At least I hope so. In this video, we're going to be doing a little bit of a discussion about the recent Enlisted event that has been taking place. So unless you guys haven't been, living under a rock, you will know that the long-awaited Russia versus Japan event has been going on right now that features the Japanese Tiger as the main reward. But per usual, like many Enlisted events, this one has come under some criticism. The first big issue was that you could basically choose whichever side you wanted to be on. This kind of caused the majority of the player base to revert back to their pre-merge ideologies, where 90% of the players were choosing Russia, leaving Japan to suffer per usual. Neat thing is that this problem only lasted for like a day, because since then, after getting ravaged on Reddit and the forums, I'm pretty sure, the developers quickly implemented a join any team button. A huge oversight on their part to not take that into account prior to implementing this event, as far as like taking people's biases into account. But this is a testing environment, so I will cut them some slack, and they were able to get on top of it very quickly. So I do want to applaud them for that as well. You got to give them some kudos. Second thing about the event that I saw a lot of people talking about online was the balance between the factions, and I'm not going to sit up here and say that all the complaints I read weren't justified, but I will also say that some of them do fall into the category of quote-unquote skill issue. The main complaints that stuck out to me as justified were the lack of lunge mines and shingunto melee weapons for the Japanese faction, as they have become pretty much iconic for that underlying advantage. Not only that, Japan planes have to spawn on an aircraft carrier to take off first, which is kind of a huge disadvantage in comparison to Russian planes, which get to spawn in the air. So I don't really think that's fair at all, if I'm being completely honest. You obviously get an altitude advantage, which makes it a lot easier once you learn the spawns. In terms of the guns between the Russians and the Japanese faction, I did see a pretty big contingent of people complaining about that online as well, but that was one of the categories of complaints that I found to be a little overblown in my personal opinion. Just taking some of the, small arms for example, for rifles, we got the SVT-38 and then we get the Type 4 as the main competitors. I would say generally speaking, you're always going to expect a 1 to 2 hit kill with those rifles. I mean, yeah, you could argue that one probably has way better iron sights than the other, but in terms of like raw damage output and like how effective you can be with those weapons overall, I would say they're kind of even for the most part. Maybe there could be some better selections there, but it's nothing that's like worth a huge complaint. Looking at the submachine guns, you got the PPSH box magazine versus the Type 100 late, which again is one of those comparisons that I would say is pretty fair overall, as far as like the fire rate is pretty similar, the iron sights are kind of equal as far as like how usable they are, and as long as you're pretty good at controlling recoil, you should be able to fare good with both of them. The only complaint that, I guess weapon category complaint, that I found to be pretty valid was the machine guns, which I do honestly feel the KE7 probably should have been replaced with the Type 96 machine gun, but maybe the developers were just assuming that there was not a huge group of people that were like largely familiar with that gun, or probably didn't want to use it, or they just wanted to give people something that was easier to use in general, as the KE7 iron sights probably are a lot more favorable with the general player base as opposed to the Type 96. So that's just my personal opinion on that as well. But weapon balance or weapon selection between pre-made squads is something that could be debated for days and days. Switching gears one more time, in terms of how easy it is to win between using the Russian and Japanese faction, I will say that it has been pretty even kill for me in that regard as well. Just today, for example, I played 4 games. It only took me 4 to get my 12k. What I've done is I've basically just been running the death lineup of going from APC to machine gunner squad to engineer squad. All 3 of those squads alone pretty much encapsulate everything that you would need to win a game on a consistent basis. teammates, especially if you're good at shooting your gun. And I feel like those people who like more so rely on their vehicles are probably the reason that they are having those quote unquote technical difficulties as far as like stringing together a bunch of wins or getting this done in a timely fashion. And I can't say, generally speaking, ever since they implemented that join any team button, that has been something that has made it easier to win it, you know, in general, as opposed to everybody just queuing up for the Russian faction and hoping to play against a bunch of bots on the other side, or not, you know, face one guy in particular who's amazing on the other team. So I think you know, as long as they make the games more fair overall, that's all that matters to me. But each side, I would say, generally speaking, has a pretty even kill chance of winning. On the flip side of that argument, I know I was just defending the pre-made classes. I do like to be a devil's advocate sometimes. I did see a pretty compelling argument online from someone saying that we probably should have been able to bring whatever like squads and vehicles we wanted and whatever BR we wanted to bring for the test event. But just speculating here and trying to you know, again, be devil's advocate for the developers, I think the reason that we're seeing a lot of mid BR equipment is because whatever map they're going to end up adding for the Russians versus the Japanese, probably Manchuria or a Kalkin Gold or something like that, it's probably going to be like in the late war era. So it wouldn't make any sense for them to just let us bring whatever, you know, items and equipment we want. And also you got to consider that a lot of the player base does not play Japan either, so the odds of them even having, you know, a plethora of good equipment unlocked to even go against the Russians, who would more than likely have everything unlocked since they were the first faction in the game, that is something that, you know, should heavily be considered. And I think the developers did a good job taking that into account, so I want to give them some credit again for that. Anyways, this is a test at the end of the day, so everything you're seeing now can and will be improved the same way they, you know, turned on the join any team button, which, you know, I mean, it should have been something in there from the beginning, but you gotta give them credit where credit is due. They did get on it pretty fast in only a day, and it's very rare that I even see developers address anything within a day's time. So I am very impressed by that, especially considering that I think they have a pretty small team overall. From what I've seen online, I think they only got like one guy working on the maps. I'm not 100% sure, but either way, you know, you just gotta give them credit where credit is due. Another reason to consider being nicer and more constructive with your criticism overall is that we are essentially getting an event with really cool and really good rewards just for testing out something that was going to be implemented in the future anyway. So it's kind of like a one hand washes the other kind of thing. So, you know, gotta consider being a little bit nicer to the devs instead of just blasting them online, which is, I did see a couple of people doing that online, so I just wanted to say that as well. Oh yeah, man, speaking of giving the developers credit, I did notice, and I didn't see a patch note for it or nothing like that, but now with the APC squads, it does not matter what soldier you are playing in that squad. Whenever you actually go to get into the vehicle, that person will automatically go into the driver's seat instead of you not like getting into the back and having to switch to the driver's seat for some odd reason. So I just want to say thank you so much for that change. You guys didn't even say anything about it. It's just something that I noticed. I pay attention to the small things, so good on you guys for that. I appreciate it very much. But yeah, man, let me know what you guys been thinking about the event so far. What do you think about the 12K in one day format? Do you like the Russians versus the Japanese side better? And as far as the balance is concerned, do you think it is completely out of whack, or do you think people are blowing it out of proportion? Let me know down there in the comment section. And while you're down there, don't forget to aim for that like button and shoot that subscribe button as well. Hope you find better teammates and improve your skill-based matchmaking. And yeah, hope you guys have a lovely rest of your day. Black Guy out.